Morris.
Georgie King.
Hello. Hi from a socially distanced video call.
Hi, from several dozen miles away.
How are you?
I'm all right. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. I'm very good. So, guys, we are here today to talk to you about something very exciting. So Dan and I, well, we met through social media, didn't we?
Yeah.
I can't actually remember properly how. I think we're both cosplayers, and Dan added me as a friend, and we sort of silently liked each other's posts for a few months.
It was, I think it was back when I had just created a cosplay account on Instagram, and I was liking loads of things and following loads of people. You just happened to be one of them. And then you did a live video where you were talking about Les Miserables. Now, of course, I absolutely love Les Mis because I was in it as well. And I think then I requested to be part of the video so I could talk to you about it. And then we talked about it, and then
Thus a
the rest of
friendship
history.
was born.
Wahoo.
So, we are here today to talk about a project that Dan and I worked on together. It was the first time we'd ever met, actually, wasn't it? It was when we met in that field in Huntingdon.
Oh, lovely Huntingdon. Lovely, warm, sunny, summery Huntingdon.
So, Dan, would you like to take us through why we met up in a field in Huntingdon? What were we there for?
I mean, that sounds very suggestive. Okay, so basically, so the last video that I uploaded, which you'll see if you go on my channel, was about the final project that I did in my first year for my film and TV course. The project that I met Georgie on was for my second year final project, which was a bit more ambitious than the first. It was basically my own original kind of fantasy film. So I wanted to get away from doing a fan film from something because that wasn't really my stuff. So I took a fantasy world that I had been kind of doing notes on and just little designs here and there for a few years, and I decided, you know what, I'll make a narrative out of this, and I'll try and make it into a little short film for my second year final project.
And can I just interject that the amount of video calls I've had with you about this fantasy world, which we will explain to you over the sort of next 20 minutes or so, it's incredible. Like I've never heard anyone come up with anything so in depth. It is, honestly, I'm not just trying to say this, but I'm not just trying to say this.
Well, I mean, Tolkien and George R. R. Martin did it fairly well.
They did, but like honestly, it's incredible. So, the name of the film, because the name of the world, it's
So at some point I had a bit of an existential crisis with it because I didn't really know what to call it. I didn't know what to call some kind of series. I had so many different name changes. I started writing a little 30-page book so far of one of the little narratives. I was just really struggling to find a narrative within the actual world itself, and I didn't know what to call the world. I didn't know what to call the narrative. I didn't know what to call the series and stuff like that. And then we eventually came up with a few things. So the world itself, if you're referring to the world, it would be called Ordinatus. Now, Ordinatus is a Romanesque, Latinesque word, which means order. So I thought that was a kind of quite strong name for a world. It could be used in live action role play. It's not too weird. It still sounds quite cool anyway. And so I went with that kind of Latinesque bastardization of words, and I came up with this thing called the Imperatium. Now, the Imperatium it's a mix between Imperium and Imperator and stuff like that, those kind of words. And I just kind of mix and matched. And the Imperatium is one of the main nation states in this world. It's a kind of Romanesque fantasy nation which enjoys absorbing its neighbors.
See, you know what I find so fascinating about this is that each faction, for want of a better term, it kind of embodies a different either period in history or like a different group of people. So, for example, like the Imperatium, they are very Romanesque. And then you've got Odrikar, personally my favorite faction, um, who are sort of a little bit more Viking. Like they're not Vikings, but they embody that
I
kind of
think the way that the way that I describe them, it's more kind of an Anglo-Saxon vibe.
yeah.
I don't really like the kind of live action role play factions where it's just Vikings,
Yeah.
knights, samurai.
So talk us through the other factions, because we've obviously mentioned the Imperatium and Odrikar. Talk us through those.
Yeah, so the Imperatium is a nation state which has formed together out of more loyalist human regions, which were loyal to the kind of more imperial kind of government of the human realms. You've then got a breakaway kingdom called Odrikar, which has a very rich martial history and lots of traditions and things. They're a very Anglo-Saxon-esque, as I said, nation. Lots of greens, lots of things to do with nature. I took a lot of inspiration from if Rohan from Middle Earth was a bit more bloody and battered. Not exactly very honourable, but they're very proud people. You've also got to the south of the Imperatium, you've got this little fledgling Athenian-style republic called Phaedron. Their culture is a bit more Greek, more kind of Eastern Roman Empire type thing. And to the north, you've got this large tundra nation called Rantoria. They're very famous for fielding mercenaries. It's a feudal system up there, so they're more kind of Middle Europe during the Middle Ages. That they kind of have that kind of look. So those are some of the more closely fitting human nations. There's a couple more, but they're not that.
You've even gone into the detail of having sort of metamorphosized human animal hybrids, haven't you? I mean,
yeah.
The detail is just incredible. It really is. So some of the people that you've created. I mean, there's you've got like just tons of Pinterest boards of these different sort of creatures.
Yeah, sometimes it's really difficult when you've got such an idea in your head. There's no one out there that has drawn or written or animated something that you're thinking of. So how do you visualize that to other people? Well, obviously Pinterest is probably the best idea. I'm just saying everything like this, if you put this all together.
Pinterest is a good idea.
But the anthropomorphized creatures and races in this, I thought it would be quite interesting to look at the relationship between a human and an ape. So what would happen if you had all these kind of not exactly civilized creatures, obviously things like apes and horses and dogs and cats and things. What if you had a human version of them? It's not necessarily dog people, cat people. It's what would be the relationship if you had that that kind of genealogy kind of hierarchy. What if you had the more humanoid version of a cat? What if you had the humanoid version of a deer, a stag, and things like that? And so that's meant to be the relationship between humans and these other ones. They're all kind of the same relationship, if you like. So you've got things like the cat humanoids, the dog humanoids, the deer humanoids, there's like lizard humanoids, there's rabbit humanoids, different things like that. And it's really difficult, obviously, to find those kinds of things unless you look for the really obscure universes and really obscure games.
Yeah.
And stuff. I did actually get someone to draw up one of the the creatures that I had designed. I call them colloquially the satyrs, but they've got like their own feel, their own language and stuff. I'll pop that here. Um, and that was one of my favorite things to see, because then my world had suddenly become real.
It's crazy, isn't it? How if you're writing an idea and you know you have something in your head and suddenly someone can bring it to life. And I mean, the drawing of the satyrs was beautiful. They are really beautiful creatures.
It is beautiful, and I really would love to bring them into the physical world at some point, because I just can't wait, because it's such an, I mean, I feel like it's original, and I love it. But of course, what we are talking about is the fact that we did a film on it.
Yeah. So obviously it was in terms of budget, we didn't really have enough budget to be able to create these animal creatures. So talk us through who was in this short film version of the Imperatium, like Hollow's Curse. Like talk to us about the characters in it.
Okay, so I decided to call this little series Imperatium, and then just whatever the section was, because it was mainly based around characters who are in the Imperatium. So this particular idea I had, it was about a magister, which is kind of like a lord or lady in the Imperatium, who has a message from one of their colleagues, saying that they've got a prisoner. They need to transport him because that he's quite important. They need to keep him alive because he's owed debts by this shadowy organization. And so the Imperatium is trying to capture said shadowy organization. So they're going to do some kind of bait and switch. So she sends her son with a couple of soldiers and a slave girl, who's played by you, victim, and they go to meet where they're going to meet the prisoner. But the problem is, as they're doing that, they're attacked by what is described as the Hollow Curse. Now, the Hollow Curse is essentially a kind of magical zombie type thing. Now, I don't want to dumb it down too much, because there's a lot which I've described to do with the Hollow Curse, but it's basically it's to do with the religions, it's to do with the gods, it's to do with the tainting of energy around everything. It's to do with nature, and how if it latches onto a being, it will get to their heads, it will get to their energy, it will taint everything, and they'll go mad. So you've got these kind of fantasy style zombies, and they interrupt the whole thing. Unfortunately, I didn't get any time to film any of that, because first off, we didn't have the actors. Second, we didn't have the makeup. Thirdly, we didn't have the time, because my my film was due in that week, which was really difficult.
You know what? Honestly, kudos to you for being able to edit that together. It looks amazing already. And I mean, time constriction wise, like I don't think people realize how long it takes to film. Even just like a scene. I mean, we spent, well, we probably should have spent about 6 hours, but we spent 9 hours in a forest filming 2 scenes. And it is incredibly hard. Like I don't think people realize how much work goes into filming even the shortest of things. It really does take ages.
Yeah.
Crazy.
I mean, I feel tired just thinking about it.
It was such a long day. And halfway through this day, because Dan had spoken to the people who kind of own the forest. It was a trust forest, wasn't it?
Yeah, it's the Hinchinbrook Country Park, I think.
I mean, it was absolutely stunning, wasn't it? And the places we were able to film at were just lovely. We filmed at a really, really beautiful church. for the.
Yeah, it was difficult because obviously Christianity has nothing to do with this world, and
Yeah.
it's really difficult when you're surrounded by crosses. But the problem is we don't have any kind of buildings which could be suitable for, you know, a Roman-esque era thing. It just
Yeah.
we just didn't have the resources for that.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, I think the way it was in the angles that we used to film it, it worked. Like it suited the style. How we were allowed to, how the people who owned the church allowed us to dress it up.
The person who let me do it, he was watching.
Yeah.
Didn't you see him?
Yeah, oh yeah. No, but I don't understand how he let us put so many sort of flags up and things. And I mean, we transformed that place in a matter of what, 30 minutes, just with banners. Like, you have a banner there, don't you? Could you show us? Rather long.
So here's this one.
Beautiful.
So that's the sigil of the Imperatium.
That is lovely.
The person stood on it is meant to be their deity, and the triangle represents the three pillars of life, as they call it. But yeah.
Honestly, that is what is so incredible about this as well. Not only have you managed to create different places and factions and people, you've also managed to create an entire new, like an entirely new religious system, which is just insane.
Maybe, and it's really shocking because when I was working with some art students in my college, I managed to get some students to do it for me. When we were painting it, and then I saw it for the first time, I was like, this is insane. But then what got even crazier was I spoke to a leather worker, of course, and I had some ideas about like what Imperatium soldiers should look like, and I managed to get him to make me a Roman style helmet, which is here. Hello. And on it, embossed, is sigil of the Imperatium. I mean, it's madness. And then to have like several people running around in these would be just crazy, because I've got some pictures which I'll put up of me in the proper outfit and other people in the proper outfits. It's I can't describe the feeling when you see something like that after creating it and then seeing it in front of you. It's crazy.
So talk to us about the battle scenes, because the initial short film project starts off with a battle scene. A battle scene.
So also a battle ocean. No. So, yeah,
you know
so
what of the people of the White Sea. I've got it in my head. It's ingrained.
Yeah. So the kind of the usual nickname for Phaedron, which is that Greek-esque nation to the south, is the people of the White Sea, because they're by the White Sea. So yeah, they're very seafaring people. Yeah, so the battle scene in the beginning was kind of to set the background, and it was a very interesting day or two. But I tried to do as much as I could. I had like 5 people or something, and due to the magic of film and angles and cuts, I managed to make it look like 15 or 20 people, which I was really, really happy about. Some of my favorite shots are in that. Like, for instance, there's a part where my cameo character comes up with a crossbow and fires the crossbow, and it hits Pierce, which is your boyfriend. and then he goes down. But the fact that if you go like that quickly with the camera, with the bolts going, you can make it look like it's traveling, like there's an actual thing there. There wasn't even a bolt in the thing, but as long as you went like that, and then you have an arrow being stuck in someone, and then go, you can make it look like it was real. And people were like, wow, how did you do that? I was really, really proud of all that. It was amazing.
You did a brilliant job, especially like editing wise. Like just those quick snappy shots can make something look so much bigger than it actually is. I mean, there were genuinely only 5 of us in. Well, hang on. Yeah, there was only 5 of us in costume. Which, you know, to make a scene look like it was an actual battle scene with, you know, 20 odd people out of that.
I'd say probably like a skirmish, but like if I did it again, I'd make sure I had like a good number of people.
Yeah.
I'd still do the same techniques to make it look like double anyway.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
So in terms of making it again, talk to me about that one.
Well, due to the fact that we couldn't properly finish it because we couldn't fit in the Holocaust stuff, we're considering doing it again, but properly when we have funding and we have more stuff, we have more people interested, and we have like a bit of a following. Yeah, so it would be really great to actually reattempt doing all that stuff. I'll probably post a few of the scenes on the YouTube, just so you can see. It'll be out of context, but I'll do a video in the beginning just explaining what it is. Yeah.
Oh, you have disappeared.
Oh, sorry.
Hey.
Hi, I'm back.
That's fab. I mean, talk me through character-wise, because we've kind of briefly touched over what characters were involved in the short film. You know, can you explain to us a little bit more in terms of who you're going to want to look at in the longer perhaps series, or, you know, longer film? Like, are you going to focus on sort of Magister Sajarian, perhaps Captain Vidia? So we, you know, talk to me.
Talk to me.
Play it
okay.
on.
So there's a few interesting characters. Your character is Vilia, who is an Andrikaran slave girl. She's the help of the Sajarian household. Odrikar is slowly being occupied as we go, Imperatium forces, and so as tribute to that, they take children from the occupied Odrikaran towns and villages and set them to work in the Imperatium somewhere. You know, usual slavery. And so Valia has been in this household for years, so she's kind of behind the scenes. She's learned how to be deceitful and how to hide herself and how to kind of just notice everything, because, you know, knowledge is power. Noticing things and things about people and what they do, that's powerful, and she's recognized that. You've got Vidius, who is the Sajarian's heir and, you know, firstborn son. He's a bit more of a mummy's boy, but he does it because he's meant to, not because he wants to. He's quite, I'd say, shy, but still very forceful. So like he's in your face because that's how he's been taught to be, but he doesn't really get why.
Yeah.
And then you've got Magister Sajarian, woman, his mother, who we got the wonderful actress to play her.
She's incredible. She really was.
But she's a school teacher, which is why she was very good at being forceful. Yeah.
The crazy thing with that as well was she was really quite scary on camera.
Vidius, I need you to do something for me.
I need to go to the guild later.
Be gone with that tone, boy.
You'll speak to me with respect.
Yes, Mother. What is it I'm to do?
Which was great because that's exactly what I wanted. I wanted her to be, you know, she's had to take over, and she's a woman in a medieval Romanesque time period. It didn't really seem right to other people that she would be like in charge of this region. So we have the joke when the messenger comes up, played by my friend. She hands her a note that is saying, "You will give this to your Magister. I have a message for him from Magister Haralis." So another Magister, and then she takes the mick out of this soldier's ineptitude, which is quite funny. Because why wouldn't you think that I'm the Magister, you dumb shit?
Tell me, have you always been a half-wit? Or is this just a recent development?
1,000 apologies, Magister.
Yeah, so then we've got a couple of other soldiers, household people. Then we've got the arsehole of the prisoner. So the prisoner is a sarky boy. He's in control because he's needed alive, and so he's trying all he can to kind of keep on top of things. He knows that even if he's not funny, he is hilarious to himself. So he's just playing with it, and even though he's annoying as hell, he knows that he's got complete control, even if he's in shackles, which is difficult. So I really want to be able to get a really good actor for that when we next do it, because the jokes need to hit really well.
Just so he almost needs to be like I mean, incredibly annoying, like creepy, pervy, just all of the things that you wouldn't want to meet in a person, but then actually quite funny as well.
Yeah, the kind of one which you're like, oh, for goodness sake.
Yeah,
but you're still laughing.
the class clown sort of thing.
Yeah,
definitely. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, I think we've got a nice broad insight into, you know, the characters and the factions and a lot surrounding.
yeah, we could probably do follow-up videos where we talk about a little bit more in depth of the specific things.
Definitely.
So like we could just talk about the Imperatium, just talk about Odrakar, just
Yeah.
talk about the Hollow Curse, stuff like that, really.
Yeah, that sounds great. So
Yeah.
Dan, the last question I have to ask you, will we be seeing a return of the Imperatium?
Yes.
Woo!
Oi, oi.
Amazing. I have some work to go to.
That'd be nice.
It would be nice.
Mm.
You know,
Well,
I said, sorry, what were you gonna say?
No, go on.
I don't know. I panicked and forgot.
I panic. So
think
obviously we've got a lot of projects in our heads at the minute.
Mm.
There's a few I'm sure we'll get to talk about. I'd like to do more of these and talk about those, because that would be cool.
Definitely.
As I said, I'm not really sure what the YouTube channel's doing, so I'm just uploading stuff randomly. Yeah.
Well, Dan, thank you so much for telling us about the Imperatium. And
Thank you for being interested in it.
Of course. And hopefully we can do some more videos on this really, really soon. And if we get out of this lockdown anytime soon, we can...
Would be nice. I want a chicken nugget.
God. Yeah.
I'll miss my notes.
It's a nightmare, but yeah, thank you for chatting to us today. I hope you guys are all staying safe, and hopefully we'll do a video again soon.
Wahoo.